Well, welcome to the world today. I'm Amarachi Ubani here. The stories that we're looking at this half hour. Police in Manchester discover one of the victims of the attack on a synagogue was hit by police gunfire. U.S. President Donald Trump gives the Palestinian militant group Hamas up until Sunday to accept the Gaza peace plan. Plus, Prince William reveals his intentions to change the monarchy when he becomes king. Let's begin the world today. The Greater Manchester Police in the UK has discovered one of the victims killed in the synagogue attack on Thursday was hit by gunfire from one of their officers. Police have named the victim as Yoni Finlay. The attack happened as Jewish community in the country marked Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the year in Judaism. 2 Jewish men were killed when a man drove a car at members of the public before stabbing people. The men have been named as Adrian Dolby and Melvin Kravitz. There were 3 victims from the incident. A vigil is currently holding, organized by the Jewish Representative Council of Greater Manchester. Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy is attending. He's addressed the crowd, telling them we must stand together. He, however, says the Jewish community is strong, resilient, and will never be cowed, while the UK continues to stand with them against terrorism.
Over the weekend, I asked them to reflect with all human dignity, grace, and understanding.
There were some people who saw the attack on the synagogue as it happened. Some locals and witnesses have described how they saw blood on the rabbi's robes and even police officers crying at the scene. Police have described the attack as a terrorist incident, adding that officers responded within 7 minutes. The motive has not yet been determined.
One people, one united kingdom.
Please, let the Deputy Prime Minister speak, please.
Every Saturday!
Please.
We must not let them divide us. We must show them who we really are. Not what they want us to become or to believe, but Britain's true nature. A tolerant nation, built on mutual respect, common understanding, where people live not in fear. But in freedom, that is who we are. That is who we will always be. And it cannot be eroded by violence. It cannot be erased by vile acts, such as those carried out here yesterday. I want to close with this thought. When I have lost loved ones in the past, Jewish friends have often used a phrase to comfort me. May their memory be a blessing. Nothing will ever take away the pain of what happened here, but how we respond now, how we stand together, yes, in grief and in solidarity, but also in defiance and a shared mission against terror in the name of us all. That response honours those we have lost. May their memory be a blessing, not just to their families, not just to the Jewish community, but to our entire nation, always.
Since the Israel and Palestine war, Jewish people have been a target, which shouldn't be. People should understand that Jewish people, yeah, we do have relatives in Israel, but we are not in control for what happens in Israel. Literally a month ago, I stood right next to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in an event. I mean, I couldn't stop the war, although I wish he would stop the war. You know, you can't stop the war. It's not easy to stop a war.
I heard gunshots from my house. I live about 20 seconds away. I've heard that was the police that were tracking down the assailant. And I got woken up by my friend that just came round, and he banged on my window and he said there's an attack at Heaton Park. So that's all I heard about it. I just came rushing round to make sure my mum was okay. Well, I came to the synagogue to daven and pray because it's the holiest day of the year, and I was met with a bunch of police cars, fire engines and commotion. It's not really not what I was expecting. As a whole, Jews Muslims, Christians. I feel like besides for taking away political opinions, we're all just human beings at the end of the day, and we all know how to communicate with each other like normal people. There's no reason for any of this.
I've even seen a fully grown police officer crying when he was coming out from the cordon up there, and it's not every day you see a police officer crying. So it was just like, obviously everyone's in shock, and it's like, for what reason, why have they done it? Nobody knows. That man had the full intentions taking lives with him, because he had a bomb vest on, so his intentions were to scare people so that to believe that he had a bomb on him. So instead he got shot, and just so glad he didn't get inside, because if he did, it'd be a different story.
To the synagogue attack in Manchester yesterday, as well as the UK's Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy speaking earlier. Well, to the United States now, where music mogul Sean Diddy Combs is back in court in New York, where he'll be sentenced on 2 counts of transportation for prostitution. Diddy was convicted of flying people across the U.S. for sexual encounters that he called freak-offs, including his girlfriends and male sex workers. The prosecution wants him to serve at least 11 years in prison, but Combs' lawyer is asking for 14 months. Combs is expected to address the judge before he's sentenced. Meanwhile, the U.S. government is in shutdown, forcing the closure of several key institutions in Washington, D.C. after Congress failed to pass a budget for the 2026 fiscal year. The shutdown began on Wednesday after Republicans and Democrats in Congress failed to agree a new spending plan before the midnight deadline, which left around 800,000 federal employees furloughed and another 700,000 working without pay. Essential services such as Medicare and TSA airport security continue to operate. Many agencies have suspended their activities. One U.S. activist has called on Congress to act swiftly, emphasizing that Congress holds the power of the pen, and with that power comes great responsibility.
The purpose of why I'm here is to draw attention to Congress, because Congress holds the power of the pen and power of the purse per Article 1, Section 8 of the United States Constitution. A lot of policies that they pass directly affect the people, and I'm here to fight for the people. When you don't pass laws such as abortion for women, women end up dying. When you don't pass laws such as health care, the people who are dependent on that health care end up dying. So the purpose of this sign is to directly relate it to Congress, because the laws that they pass or do not pass trickles down to the people.
Meanwhile, President Donald Trump says Palestinian militant group Hamas has to accept a peace plan he developed with the Israeli Prime Minister by Sunday or face all hell. Writing on his Truth Social platform earlier today, Trump said an agreement must be reached by 6 p.m. Washington time on Sunday. The plan proposes an immediate end to fighting and the release within 72 hours of 20 living Israeli hostages held by Hamas, as well as the remains of hostages thought to be dead in exchange for hundreds of detained Gazans. Arab and Turkish mediators are understood to be pressing Hamas for a positive response to the proposal, but a senior Hamas figure says the armed group is likely to reject it. But Israel has deported 4 Italian citizens after they were detained by authorities when boats sailing in a flotilla carrying aid bound for Gaza were intercepted. According to the Israeli Foreign Ministry, more than 470 people were detained, including Swedish campaigner Greta Thunberg and son of former South African President Mandela Mandela. All the activists are said to be safe and in good health. The GSF flotilla set sail for Gaza from Spain at the end of last month, with other boats joining them from Tunisia and other ports later. Protests in support of the flotilla and against the war in Gaza ramped up around the world as the boats neared the Strip in countries including Spain, Italy, Colombia, and Argentina. To the European economy now, Germany has long been the economic engine for the continent, but the motor has been spluttering for years now. The country has even been in recession. The current government is now trying to jumpstart initiatives to bring the country forward again. The Deutsche Welle's Lars Halter joins us from Berlin. Lars, always great to see you. What's the latest you're hearing from the government?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Indeed, Chancellor Friedrich Merz and the members of his cabinet are currently in a two-day meeting to debate how to jumpstart Germany's economy. And just to give you an idea of how desperately that's needed, Germany has seen 2 years of recession, and this year was initially seen as a year of recovery. But due to recent troubles with tariffs out of Washington and with growing competition out of China, economists here are looking at meager results, so are likely to stay at least stagnant this year, although a further drop for the German economy cannot entirely be ruled out. Anyway, that's why Chancellor Merz has called for an autumn of reforms, a very broad marker. He said there government reforms have long, of course, been called for by German businesses who have long said that the country is currently not attractive for businesses to invest in. Too much bureaucracy, high energy costs, a lack of skilled labor even. All in all, just too much to compete globally.
These are all genuine issues. So what exactly does the cabinet think they can do to help boost the economy?
Well, as the meeting started, there was a lot of talk about bureaucracy and efficiency, or rather the lack of efficiency these days. Between the rules and regulations on the federal level, companies here have to also deal with a lot of EU regulation and also with an immense amount of documentation of processes. All that has been criticized for years. Now, the government wants to make things more efficient, and there are at least 2 initiatives on the agenda that are giving businesses hope. One is actually to just shut some government agencies or parts of agencies that have just been growing for decades and have led to agencies seemingly becoming more restrictive, if only to justify their very own existence. A smaller administrative body would also, of course, save the government money in the long run and could also allow even for lower taxes at some point. And the other idea might show results even faster. That would be improved digitalization, and implementing AI in all this, of course, is a major point. Now, Germany is sadly far behind when it comes to digitalization, and that also has been slowing things down, including, for example, the planning and building of new plants. For companies even willing to invest, it took a lot of patience, or still takes a lot of patience, as the approval process here often moves at a snail's pace, with oftentimes possibly lucrative investment plans being shelved over seemingly overblown environmental concerns or citizens' initiatives dragging out processes. If the government would be able to cut down on that, companies would certainly be more eager to invest.
But what have companies said? What has been their reaction to what's been going on?
Yeah, corporate Germany so far is enthusiastic about the new government initiative, so much so that over 100 companies have already signed on to a project called Made for Germany. That's, of course, a play on the once valuable Made in Germany trademark. Made for Germany is an initiative where those undersigned companies pledge major investment in their fields over the next 3 years. Among the founding members were Deutsche Bank, the biggest German lender, but also the industrial conglomerate Siemens. There are major industrial companies on board, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, also some media companies, even companies in high-tech and the service industry. All in all, they've so far pledged investment of 735 billion euros, and that is a massive. It's actually more than the 500 billion euros the Merz government has already pledged to invest in infrastructure, for example, also in an effort to boost economic growth here in Germany. That money now has largely been made available for upgrades to roads and bridges and tunnels, the power grid, and other parts of basic infrastructure. And it will obviously be helpful for corporate Germany to have this improved infrastructure, but it also creates hundreds of thousands of jobs. So we can clearly see that Berlin has plans, has ideas, but we will have to still see what this autumn of reform actually delivers in the end and which ideas really become reality.
Well, I'm glad you were able to get all of that out last, despite the connectivity problems. Thanks again for joining us on the program. Still ahead on The World Today. The streets of Chongqing municipality in China comes alive for the October 1st national holiday. Welcome back to The World Today. The 2025 Africa Energy Week is underway in Cape Town, South Africa. Our correspondent Innocent Samosa has been speaking with civil society groups who are advocating for people-centered just energy transitions.
I think that's the fallacy that has been shared by the global north in terms of our readiness. As we speak on the continent, 600 million people do not have access to electricity. So we're starting from the point where most of the continent has got no access to electricity. Our transition is from 0 to actually 100% renewable energy. That's the first opportunity. And around the readiness to move away from coal, the fact of the matter is coal is killing a lot of communities in a lot of ways where we have sacrifice zones. So we have the opportunity in this just energy transition to move away from coal.
But why can't we gradually move away? Because if you're saying that we can just do away with coal, you know how many people are employed under coal? There are a lot of people who are employed. And at the moment, we're still trying to put together pathways for clean coal technologies that they can be rolled out in the country. Wouldn't you agree with me that it's quite early to say that we can just do away and then focus on clean energy? We all say we want to go to clean energy, but we can't just do away with coal. Don't you agree?
So I often think that the misunderstanding when we talk about a just energy transition is that it will happen overnight. We don't anticipate it to happen overnight. We actually work within our grouping with mining affected communities and workers. We work and engage with different unions like SAFTU and the lot who focus on jobs. And so I think a big thing that we need to understand is that right now, according to the Presidential Climate Commission's Just Energy Transition Framework, they are talking about the fact that from this year, we will start gradually seeing the decrease in jobs within the coal sector and the coal value chain because coal is a finite source. We're going to be seeing an influx and a build up towards the renewable energy sector, towards the agricultural sector.
Why the rush? Europe is still using coal. I mean, they're still exporting coal. Why are we rushing?
So this is not a rush. This is about preparing ourselves for the future. We are already behind. We act as if we're one of the most developed continents in the world. We are not, because the nature of the exploitation that was done on the continent was for us to be at the bottom of the barrel, and that includes the coal industry. We're not positioning ourselves for the future. So the rush is to prepare ourselves for the future economy. We do not want to be, again, a laggard when we speak to economic development. And to the point as to the necessity to move away from coal, it's coming from the just angle to say that moving away from coal into renewable energy does not leave people behind, henceforth the justice. What was also happening with the transition when we speak about renewable energy, when they're not just, we actually leave those people in the coal mines. And in 20 years, as has happened in the global north, in some coal towns, they're now just told that the coal mine is closing.
Well, South Africa has also invited Nigeria to host a G20 event in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. That invitation was given by the International Relations and Cooperation Minister, Ronald Lamola. Our South Africa correspondent, Innocent Samosa, spoke with the Nigerian Acting High Commissioner to South Africa, Alexander Ajayi, about how this reflects deepening cooperation between the two countries.
It's quite significant for us. You know, I want to start from the point that when my president was here last year, it's one of the cardinal message he, dropped with his counterpart, His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa, that he wants to see Nigeria join South Africa in the G20. You know, as a continent, if you look at continent of Africa, you will know that it's more like what we call a settled matter that we should have more than one country in the G20. You understand? Because look at the size of the continent, you look at the size of the economy of some of the countries in the continent. You pick South Africa and Nigeria. We are the two leading economies in the continent. So it's a vision from my president that I want to see Nigeria in the G20, and that is why the mission took it from that point and work hard in order to port that event in Nigeria, which will be coming up between the 22nd and 23rd October in Abuja, which is high-level G20 meeting on industrialization and agriculture. For us, we serve as one important event to signpost Nigeria as a potential G20 member, you know, to put it out there that we are prepared, we are ready. You recall that sometimes this year we rebase our economy. Nigerian economy was rebased, which now made it more larger than what it was previously. at least from the statistics, that Nigerian economy is now 30% larger than what it was in. So that is a success story for us to take to the G20. And when you also talk of authentic African voices in the G20, you can't cut Nigeria, aside.
Nigeria's acting High Commissioner to South Africa, Alexander Ajayi. To the UK now, where there will be changes to the British monarchy, probably as soon as Prince William becomes king. The Prince said this when speaking to actor Eugene Levy in Windsor for the Apple TV Plus show The Reluctant Traveller. Asked about his future role as king, Prince William said, and I quote here, "I think it's safe to say that change is on my agenda. Change for good, and I embrace that. I enjoy that change. I don't fear it. That's the bit that excites me, the idea of being able to bring some change, not overly radical, but changes that I think need to happen." While given a tour to Eugene of the Windsor Castle, Prince William spoke about his family history, saying, "I think if you're not careful, history can be a real weight and an anchor around you, and you can feel suffocated by it and restricted by it too much. And I think it's important to live for the here and now." A conversation with Levy revolved around family, children, media intrusion, and being an Aston Villa fan. Chinese holidays are usually a huge celebration across the country, but for those able to make it to Chongqing's streets, it's a unique experience. Drone footage captured the crowded streets. There we are on October 1st, China's national holiday. Same with Nigeria. It was packed shoulder to shoulder. There were light displays. Witnesses said were absolutely stunning. Oh, they are. China's Golden Week starts this week and will last until October 8th. It's one of the country's busiest travel period. Reports predict up to 336 million trips across the country on the first day alone, including more than 23 million rail journeys, and that's up 7% from last year. Just look at how crowded those streets are. That's the world today. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani.